Yeah, there was music in the house. My mom always had Motown going, and a lot of the doo-wop singers and stuff like that. A lot of black music in the house, and that's probably why I'm a bass player today. I don't gravitate towards, let's just say, the halftime show at the Super Bowl excited me. I enjoy that kind of flavor of stuff. So if there was a funkier instrument besides the bass, I'd play it. So that's kind of, I'm not a guitar player. I'm not a drummer or anything else. I am a bass player, and that's all I want to play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Set Listing Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. We are jumping off the Springsteen train, and we are getting on the film, I guess, golf cart. Isn't that what they'd follow around in studios? They ride around in their golf carts. We are talking movie making. We are talking independent films. We are talking about scores. And I have Amber and Vinny joining me. I am so thrilled you guys took time of your busy schedules to join me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us, baby. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, ladies first. Amber, tell us a little about yourself.
So I'm a musician. I've been playing for about 24 years now.
Started when you were 3.
No, like I was about 9, so
Okay.
I just gave my age away. I do various styles of music. I've played in churches, pop, country, whatever you want to call it. And I'm actually starting up my own wedding business. We're getting ready to start doing wedding music. And I got into acting about later in high school. I started doing theater acting and fell in love with it. And then I kind of got out of it for a little bit because I got married, had babies, moved everywhere because my husband was in the military. And I got back into the theater about 4 years ago. And there I went from doing acting into doing costuming, and from costuming doing reenactment shows like Snapped. And Vinny and I have known each other for a really long time. He's known me since I was like 18, 19. I was a baby. And I'm
just glad you were legal.
Right. And so we reconnected on Facebook, and he was like, "Hey, we're making movies." And I'm like, "Hey, do you want like this, sexy curvy girl in your movie?" Because I know how film kind of translates plus size people. And he's like, "Yeah." So I came in to do a song, playing the piano and singing for the music, for the score.
Yeah.
And from there, it moved into set production and videography and location scouting. And now I'm doing public relation work in between the movies. So I'm a pretty busy person.
Very nice. Where are you coming from? Where are you calling from?
Tennessee.
Okay.
Out near the Smoky Mountains. So over in Sevierville, Pigeon Forge area.
Very nice. All right. And Vinny, how about yourself?
I'm a pro wrestler, a bass player, a filmmaker, a stand-up comedian, a bad father, a worse husband, and a backslidden preacher. We started Big and Funky Productions about 6 years ago, making really terrible wrestling television for Fox. And that turned into some quirky and fun paranormal television for a couple small stations. And then when COVID happened, we decided to, me and my partner, Big Luke, who's a 7-foot giant, we actually have a wrestling match Saturday. We decided to start making movies since production was way down. So that was something we decided to do. And we've been, the movie bug has bit us, and I have a lot of interest, and I don't know if I have a lot of talent, but I have the ability to kind of do what I want to do, which is nice. And so there's nothing like making movies that has kind of fulfilled all the creative itches that I have to scratch. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
One of the really great things about technology, and there's a lot of downsides, but there is the wall, so to call, of stopping you from having an idea to making it a reality it is very scalable now because of technology, because of the internet. No way 10 years ago I'm having a podcast about talking to Bruce Springsteen fans from around the world, right? Like, what? First off, what is a podcast? And as I've expanded, my itch has been, I want to talk to people that are passionate about anything, because it's fun to visit with people. So thank you guys for joining me. I can't wait to hear more about your journey in films, but I always like to start at the beginning. So I'm gonna start with you, Vinny. Where did you grow up, and was there a lot of music in the house? Did your parents influence your musical fandom?
Great question. I grew up, I was born in Baltimore. That's something that I think I mentioned in almost every movie we've done so far.
Yeah.
Because I think Baltimore is a funny town to be from.
Yeah.
It conjures up a lot of ideology. And then when we're in East Tennessee, that's a whole different ball of wax. So
sure.
It's like a chocolate and the peanut butter kind of origin story. Yeah, there was music in the house. My mom always had Motown going, and a lot of the doo-wop singers and stuff like that, and a lot of black music in the house, and that's probably why I'm a bass player today. I don't gravitate towards I don't know. Let's just say the halftime show at the Super Bowl excited me. I enjoy that kind of flavor of stuff. So if there was a funkier instrument besides the bass, I'd play it. So that's kind of, I'm not a guitar player. I'm not a drummer or anything else. I am a bass player, and that's all I want to play.
Well, to bring it back to Bruce just for fun, right? Gary Tallent's the guy sitting there in the shades while they're touring, sitting there just keeping the bass going. So absolutely. Do you do stand-up bass too? Have you played with that a little bit?
I love it, even though I'm more of a slap bass kind of funk player. My wrestling name's Funk Master V. So but I do love the stand-up bass. In fact, I think bass guitar lost a lot of its identity when it turned into a guitar. When it went from stand-up bass, it was definitely this intimidating, loud, deep, some macho man or tough broad wields that thing. And then when it becomes a guitar, it just kind of looks like, well, that guitar only has 4 strings. It's like it's a totally different thing.
And I also am always I think you get short shift when you read stories about, rock bands like in the 50s or 60s, and like, we got him, like we needed a bass player, so we took straws and like, okay, you go learn how to play the bass, right? And versus like, no, I want someone passionate about this. I want someone, who knows the beauty of that instrument.
Well, the interesting thing about the bass guitar is there's probably the best musician on the planet Earth is a bass player. His name's Victor Wu.
Okay.
However, the range goes all the way down to, I want my cute girlfriend to play in the band, so she's gonna have to learn how to play the bass. So there's this wide gambit. I feel like the bass guitar, of all the conventional instruments in a pop band, it's the one with the least amount of what's the word? There's the most open. You can play it almost any type of style.
Okay.
And I know there's tons of different styles you can play with piano and drums and stuff, but it seems like with the bass, you can kind of go at it a million different ways and to make it work. And there's a lot of creativity with that too, that you can experiment with the bass. So you can do a lot of stuff with guitar. It's obvious, but the guitar is kind of locked into something. The bass can actually be 2 or 3 different types of instruments if played.
Absolutely.
The right way. Yeah.
So Amber, how about you? Growing up, was your family musical? Did they influence you?
Yes, actually, my dad taught himself guitar, and he's actually a pretty phenomenal guitar player. My brother also taught himself guitar, and he plays guitar and bass. My whole family on my dad's side, they either sing or they play an instrument. So I come from a very musical family, and everybody plays by ear. No one has ever taken like actual lessons or been professionally trained. They're just extremely talented people. So I grew up in the Bible Belt, surrounded by bluegrass and Southern gospel. Well, sort of Southern gospel, the good kind, as my parents would call it.
Yeah.
And
What?
they.
Oh, she froze.
She did freeze.
I froze her by saying what? I didn't know there
Yes.
was good Southern gospel. I want to say, since she's frozen, and we've been doing podcasts and stuff for a long
Yeah.
time, and I've told her to get equipment that was made in the year at least 2000. She hasn't done it yet, but she is a very good piano player. I'm surprised she never took lessons because she reads music, which you don't see a lot of people that have taught themselves how to read music. So
Yeah.
that's pretty wild.
You know what I
There
love.
we go. I
There
am
you
so
go.
sorry.
That's all right. If you want, you can turn the camera off, see if that helps your bandwidth. So
Yes, I am so sorry about that.
no,
I
don't worry about it,
understand
Amber. All right. So tell us, you were talking about that you all of your family plays by ear, and that you listen to a lot of bluegrass and good Southern gospel, and then Vinny tripped you up by going, "What? There's such a thing?" Did she hang up?
I don't
I
know.
think she accidentally hung up.
Well,
All right. I'll make notes to edit this, and it will look seamless after the
man.
fact.
I'm always on her rear end about this, but
Yeah. That's okay.
No, so
Yeah.
I don't understand why my internet is going out. We have like the fiber optic stuff. So
Okay, go ahead, Amber.
okay. So yes, I grew up in a very musical family, and I've been singing since the age of 4. So basically I've been surrounded by music my whole life. So it's been a very big influential part of my life. So I mean, I really can't imagine my life without it. So I started originally with piano, and I do play guitar, not exceptionally well, not like my dad or my brother, but I do play guitar. I can play harp a little bit, but not, piano is basically my forte. And but yeah, so music has definitely been there since the very beginning.
So did either one of you, I find this a lot when I'm interviewing people, that often when you hit your teenage years, you rebel against your parents' music and you find your own voice. And then later you come back when you get, like in your middle 20s or 30s, going like, oh, that Merle Haggard stuff my dad listened to, that's pretty damn good. Or you never lose that. You realize that it's good music, and you may expand your listening taste, but you never feel like you needed to abandon. Just any thoughts about that statement?
yeah, I think I took what was in the house and I built on it. Motown, R&B. There was Elvis. My dad, I never heard my father listening to music, which is weird. I don't even know. I think he liked country. I'm not even sure what he liked, but I always listened to my mom's stuff. And then I saw the movie. It's talking about music. I saw the movie Crossroads with Joe Seneca and Ralph Macchio and Jamie Gertz and Steve Vai, and that blew my mind. The score was made by Ry Cooder. I've never heard music like that before. I heard blues before, but that movie sounded like aliens came down and played music that I'd never heard in ways I never heard it before. And I fell in love with that movie. I mean, it sounds like a movie I would make. It's a kid breaks an old guy out of jail to go back down to Mississippi to find a lost song, and they have to fight the devil to get it. I mean, it sounds like a crazy plot. It is a crazy plot. It's a great freaking movie, but the music is what makes it unbelievable. So when I heard Crossroads. I would watch that movie 4 or 5 times a week, and it was weird. I would play a lot of the guitar licks on the bass, and that's I built from that. So then I discovered funk on my own, and then I discovered rock, and then I was a teenager around the grunge period. So Lenny Kravitz, or not Lenny Kravitz, Living Color, King's X, Faith No More, and it bled into Pearl Jam and stuff like that. And
you were as we're filming, as we're talking and recording this, it's right after the Super Bowl, and my son is 33, and he had come over to watch the Super Bowl, and the halftime show was just, he was grinning from the moment it started till the end, because that was his youth. He said, this was the music I remember growing up with and just loving, and just he was so happy. And I just think there's that joy and that love of embracing. My parents were huge country and western fans, just Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and Hank Williams. And my mom also loved like Fats Domino and Bobby Darin, and the 50s, a lot of the 50s music. And I tell this joke often on the podcast. It's not a joke. I remember being 9, 10, something like that. It was in the late 60s, and I was visiting my cousins in Ohio, and none of them could believe that I couldn't name all 4 Beatles. I'm like, hey, I'm this kid growing up from South Louisiana with parents that did nothing but listen to country music. I barely knew who the Beatles were, because that it wasn't something playing on the radio.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's an interesting anecdote there that and all that music your parents listened to, I would take that, even though that's not my favorite style of music.
Yeah.
I would take that over almost anything being produced today, because most everything else is so bad now.
Yeah, it is. When you think about all the, Johnny Cash, and I love his story that, he goes through all this, and then this with Rick Rubin has this renaissance, toward the end of his life, where this whole generation, including MTV, are like, oh man, this guy's cool. Is just a really kind of fun life. You mentioned that you wrestled in a previous life, and I guess still do a little bit. One of my son's favorite memories is, he was in the 6th or 7th grade, and WrestleMania was coming to the Astrodome. We live in Dallas, Houston's only 3 or 4 hours away. And just the idea of ever going to a WrestleMania in person. And I said, well, hey, if you get straight A's, I'll take you. And, then after the fact, Lynn and I went ahead and bought tickets, whether he made it or not, but he made it. And he still, at 30, talks about going to WrestleMania with his dad and saying, Dad, is it okay if I shoot the finger? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. It's WrestleMania. Have fun. So were you like every other kid watching wrestling on Saturday afternoons on independent channels? And is that what got you into wrestling?
Wrestling. Yeah. I mean, I was, I watched it on TV. I happened across it. WTBS, it was Jim Crockett Promotions. I think the Rock and Roll Express was the first wrestlers I ever saw, Jimmy Valiant, on TV. And it when you're that age, man, there's nothing better than wrestling. I mean, it's just amazing. And then so I grew out of it like everybody else. And then I went and did music and comedy and TV and stuff like that. But when I hit about 32, I was like, I got bored with music, weirdly enough. A lot of people don't believe that, but I played so many shows. It just was like almost, I don't know, I want to do something else. It's kind of the plight of my life. And I was like, I'm still young enough where I could do this. I'm physically, I was in judo. I won the state championship in judo. So I was like, I think I have a natural proclivity to do this. And I'm also a smart ass. I have a natural ability to get people to boo me and I in our music band as the bass player, I was the bad guy. We actually had a good, the front man was the good guy, womanizer, would walk on people's tables and knock over their drinks. And the entire time people would be smiling at him like he was the greatest thing in the world. Anybody else do that, they'd get punched. Sure. He had a great charisma, and then I would be the bad guy. We'd play a song like Gin and Juice or whatever. And I'd be like, after the song was over, I'd get on the mic and be like, I believe that song glorifies drugs. And people would be like, shut up. And the lead singer would be like, shut your mouth, you friend. And he'd cuss me out. Or that we'd play like Pony by Genuine. I'd be like, I believe that song objectifies women. Is that? And shut up. So there would be this dichotomy that, we weren't just playing music, we were putting on a show. And so that transferred really good into wrestling. And being from the North and coming down South, it was just natural to be a bad guy. I'm wearing a mink coat in the house. So, I mean, it's just, you're back.
I am. I've been back for like the last 5 minutes. I'm just letting you talk.
Yeah. Well,
it's what you do.
But anyway, so yeah, I got into it and I loved it. I mean, wrestling is great. Wrestling, when it's great, is the best thing on earth. When it's bad, it's horribly shameful and terrible. But when it's good, it's so good.
Yeah, it is. In fact, I almost think that if you ask him his favorite songs, he will start naming wrestling, entrance songs. That's how much of a thing he is. Well, so you guys have kind of mentioned it a little bit, but let's Amber talk about a little bit more how you guys got together and decided that from doing wrestling and being a professional musician, you did the Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney, hey, let's put on a show. So either one of you take lead on that and kind of go back and forth and tell me the story.
Well,
you start, yeah.
I'll start it and then you can finish. But the first movie we did, Amber wasn't around, and we just decided Luke was wanting to do a horror movie. And I kept going, man, a movie, forget about it. Too much work. And it is. And I'm the one that does a lot of it. But when COVID happened, the production houses shut down. We were making paranormal television. We were producing 3 television shows. Amber was actually on one of the shows as a guest, telling ghost stories. But we did a paranormal investigation show. But at that point, it was like, we had an investigation where we went to Cherokee, North Carolina, and investigated a legend called Spearfinger. And we had a lot of crazy stuff happen to us in the woods on this road called the Road to Nowhere. We think there's possible evidence that we ran across something that either was or was trying to purport itself to be Spearfinger. And we were like, what a great legend Spearfinger was. She's basically a rock golem, but she's a shapeshifter. She can look like your grandmother. She can look like somebody you want to bang. She can look like a little kid. And if she beckons you off the trail, she has a long finger, an obsidian finger, can pierce your liver and eat it. She's a cannibal, horrible person, has a pet raven. They ought to make comic books about this thing. She can throw boulders and manipulate nature. And there was a lot of people that were dying because of fallen trees. And that's one of her MOs. So we decided to make a horror movie. And then it turned into a comedy. And we had mild success with that. And actually, we had pretty good success for what we didn't know what we were doing. And then when we were coming around with the second movie, which is actually about a Southern gospel radio station, Amber and I crossed paths again, and she's like, hey, I'm in TV, I'm doing Christian TV. And I was like, that'll be pretty good. And I always loved Amber. Amber's so damn cute. I just want to grab her cheeks and kiss her all night long. Sam wouldn't like that. But anyway, she's an adorable person and a great asset to the team. And the first movie was Luke, who's my tag team partner. He's a guitar player. And then Candy, if you ever see the movie, she's my girlfriend in the movie, but in real life, she's married and has a bunch of kids. But she's a heavy metal singer. She's a guitar player too. She's a very talented chick. And then Travis, who's another wrestler friend of ours who does not play any instruments. And I said, if he ever learned how to play drums, we could be a band. But anyway, so that was basically it. We had a couple friends that would help. We had a couple actors that came help. This next movie is expanded. Amber's part of the team. We have drag queens. We have furries. We have comedians, magicians, musicians, pro wrestlers. It's just this, there's over 100 actors in the second movie. And Amber not only acted, she was a production assistant and like she said before, costumes and all that stuff. So we picked her up and she's been on our weekly podcast almost every week, but she's been a behind the scenes lady almost every week, and with PR with our company and stuff like that too. She's been phenomenal.
So Amber, brag about yourself or brag about the team.
Well, I like to say that I'm a person in many hats. I fill in the gaps wherever things need to be fixed or stuff needs to be done. And Vinny basically says I'm the female version of him, so we get along pretty well.
Yeah.
He handles a lot of things, and I do my best to kind of take some of the stuff off of him and handle it just as well, if not better, right?
Some things you do a lot better than me. I appreciate your help.
Except for having good internet access, apparently. But that's
one day.
But we really do have a fantastic team. Everybody has unique strengths that they bring to the team that really make the team so unique in what it is. And what I do like about Vinny and Luke, kind of being the head of all of it, they allow people to have their creative liberty to express themselves or to do, act the way they feel like they should in a scene, or bring ideas to the table. And they're not closed off to it because it's their company or it's their movie. They're very open to letting people, throw ideas or lines or like tweaks in a scene out. And so I really enjoy working with them. It's probably the first director and group of people that have been pretty chill that I've worked with. So it's I've had a lot of fun.
There you went. I'll tell you, she okay.
I'm here. Am I back now?
I think you're good. I was just bragging on you. The last movie, I don't want to give too much away. Not only you were a location scout for some of the most important scenes in the movie in the last one, and there was a scene that you came up with one that I think the coolest visual in the entire movie. You came up with that, so I think that was sexy as hell, and one of my favorite parts of the movie, and that was all you. And so yeah, that's kind of how we operate, man.
Yeah, and I'm excited. And now for the movie that we're getting ready to film in the spring, which is Camp Smoky, which is a straight horror film. To do a lot of the videography and the cinematography of that, and also help with like assistant directing, because a lot of people that are normally behind the scenes are going to be on the other side of the camera. So I get to wear a little bit of a bigger hat and have an even bigger role in this next movie behind the camera, which I'm really excited about.
The question I have, and I've asked this a lot, I've had different musicians join me on the podcast, especially over the past 2 years, and I say, how do you promote an album when you're a singer-songwriter when you can't tour? I mean, the standard method is, right, you get money together, you put together, you have at least some hard CDs printed out, you go to a club, you hope you get an audience, you hope they like you enough, and they hope you sell enough CDs to fill your tank of gas to get to the next one, and you hope that other people are also going to Bandcamp and downloading music, and like I could keep this going, right?
Yes.
How do you promote a movie in the middle of a pandemic? And how do you get it out there, and how do people see it?
Well, it is, we were very fortunate with The Hike, which was the first one. We had a guy that was watching us, and we had no idea. We had a guy actually who was a charlatan. He was giving us a bunch of bull, and one of our friends brought him in, and we found out that he was dying for about 9 years. He's like, I'm on my deathbed. So every time there was a bad question or what are we doing here? What's the money? Are we talking about money here? Oh, I'm sick. Oh no, it's back. And so we realized pretty quickly he was full of crap. So we actually got really lucky with having a distributor find us. Like I said, with us, it was a calculated move because there was no content. Yeah. So we were like, if we make a bad movie, it's going to go out there because people are dying to watch anything new.
Yeah.
And we've made something I think is pretty damn good, especially considering everything. And the distributor picked it up, put it on Amazon. It's on Amazon. Anybody's with Amazon Prime can watch it for free. And people that watch it all the way through are like, holy crap, I can't believe it ended that way. What a funny movie. And so there's word of mouth. And we had a lot of people watch it when it first came out. A lot of people who are wrestling fans watched it. A lot of people who are musician fans. I mean, one thing about everybody kind of coming from these little universes, we all have a little bit of a following. So instead of it's like a bunch of friends going, hey, we made a movie, there are people that are excited about whatever we release. Mm-hmm. And you know, man, like it's a movie. People are at home. Some people are still afraid of the coronavirus, or afraid's not a good word, or leery of it.
Sure.
So they're staying inside and they're just consuming as much content and passing the time. And you know, like the hike has been illegally downloaded over 100,000 times in India. I can't imagine who in the hell with the jive talk, the redneck hip hop, grifter talk dialogue of that movie. I don't know who sat there and tried to translate that into Hindi, but God bless them for it. But yeah, so it's a little different than music. I feel like music, when you're a musician, you're just screwed, man.
Yeah.
It's all luck. You're shouting up to the heavens. And like you said in the beginning of your podcast, we now have a thing. Oh my God! Now, we live in Tennessee. We're making movies out of Tennessee. We don't have to move to LA or Toronto or not even Nashville. So now that's an advantage. But the problem is you got everybody screaming up you got 7 billion people. You're not competing with, I'm not competing with Billie Eilish or William Eyelash, whatever her name is. I'm not competing against The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I'm competing against 7 billion people with TikTok videos.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all competing against.
Yes.
So everybody's producing content, which is awesome. But it's also, if you have a gym, it's going to be hard for people to find it. You just have to get lucky, really.
Well, I'm looking at your IMDb page, and you guys really did well at all these different film festivals. I mean, that's a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, we're happy.
Yeah, you guys are kind of, and I love the fact you're kind of like, well, yeah, we're pretty proud of it, but there's a lot of, there's not only nominations, but a lot of wins. So good for you guys. That's great. Why comedy horror, and now why horror? What about that genre spoke to y'all that, hey, this is what we want to do?
I think the hike was supposed to be pure horror.
Okay.
And we were casting Travis, which is the wrestler El Gordo Gringo, which, if you're not wise, is the fat white guy.
Okay.
But anyway, he and Candy were going to be the couple, and wonderful. But there was a couple dates he couldn't make, and so we decided to make me, this gross old man, in a relationship with a hot young girl. It happens in Hollywood. It's like a Woody Allen movie, I guess. So anyway, and I can't do anything serious. When I'm on camera, there's always this comedic, and so it just turned into a comedy. The way that I hate the woods. I hate walking in the woods. I hate the bugs. I've still got effing scars
He
on
does.
my damn legs
He
from the
does.
damn hike from 20. I hate it. I don't know why anybody goes out there. So the entire time I'm falling, I'm complaining, I'm bitching. So it turned into a comedy. And so
Well,
the second movie was
yeah.
a horror comedy. And then Luke's movie, which is going to be a lot of his vision, is pure horror. And I'm so scared. I'm like, I'm going to make it funny. And he's like, no, you better not. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm going to try. So that's the story he's come up with for the third movie is unbelievable. But
Yeah.
and the other thing, to be honest with you too, you can make a pretty good horror movie cheap.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? Oh, bring that in here. You're a wonderful human being. Thank you.
Hi.
I have wonderful women who bring me things to drink all the time.
Yes.
I have a good life.
Yeah. And so Luke is like, okay, we've stretched ourselves creatively. We've had some fun. Now then I want to see if we can do something straight horror without tongue in cheek.
Right.
And that's a good challenge.
It is. It's especially for us. We're in the middle of something called the Smoky Mountain Chronicles, and
Yeah.
it's 6 movies about Appalachia. And
Okay.
there's legends and lore from each. And I kind of feel like I love the South, even though I'm not from here. I feel like there's a lot of stories that aren't being told, like Spearfinger. Nobody knows what the hell that is. It's a great, interesting thing. And so our second movie is about religious dogma. In the South, there's no greater evil than the dog. I'm not talking about God.
Yes.
I'm talking about the dogma, the soul-crushing dogma that surrounds religion. That's the bad guy in the second movie. So there's all these different legends and lore that we can pick. And there's a guy named Rabbit Man that we did an investigation with, who the legend says he started turning into a rabbit at the end of his life, and he used to murder people because they were cruel to his rabbits. There's all these weird little stories and stuff. So it's a great place. We said 6 movies. We could make 1,000 in this place.
Are you planning in this trilogy doubled? So whatever you call a 6th movie arc, are you guys going to do something a little more romantic comedy-ish or something? Or are you guys going to stick pretty much to this? How far out of your comfort zone are you guys going to go when you're writing?
Well, the first one kind of turned into a romantic comedy. There was a lot of the hike was a genre buster. It was a mystery, comedy, horror, rom-com, a whodunit. There was paranormal. This second movie is pure comedy horror. Comedy first, then horror. Third one's horror. The fourth one is going to be comedy, crazy comedy, sci-fi horror.
Okay.
And then we don't. The last one that we have, the 6th one that we've kind of written, is a really serious. There's no comedy in that at all. There's no tongue in cheek. There's no. There will be no. There's like all of our movies are a little campy and a little bit.
Okay.
Like pro wrestling fights and stuff. The last movie is going to be straight serious, hopefully tearjerker type stuff. It's a story that Luke wrote a couple years ago. And people in the horror industry that are friends of his, and they wrote the NDA, or they signed the NDA. They can't steal. They say it's the best original concept for a zombie movie they've ever heard of.
Nice.
Besides the first one.
All right. So the first one is The Hike. What's the name of the second one?
WJHCAM. It's about a small town Southern gospel station during Y2K and the return of Christ. What would happen to the people when all the assholes that were left behind? What would happen to them?
And then the one that you guys are working on now?
Camp Smoky.
Okay.
That's going to be a kid survives. Basically, a camp gets overrun by demons. Demons are taking over the world.
Yeah.
He survives living in the woods. Grows up to be a man, kills demons and tries to survive, kind of deal.
That sounds awesome.
This
is great.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
The fourth movie is the craziest of all of them so far.
Okay.
It's called Computer Generated Movie, and it's a movie about the movie company coming to us saying, you've made 3 bombs. We're going to make this computer write your movies from now on. And the computer writes terrible movies. And we are forced by contracts to make the terrible movie that the computer wants to make. And in the middle of the night or in the middle of the movie, we decide to usurp the computer's authority, and it turns basically into a comedic version and a horror version of Space Odyssey 2001, Man versus Machine. So that's
I like it.
yeah,
Yes.
it's
Who would you guys say, or are there influences? Who are do you guys kind of look to as influences or trailblazers?
I mean, our movies are conversational.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say Kevin Smith. A lot of people in the first movie said, it reminds me of Kevin Smith, Blair Witch,
Yeah.
Descent, Evil Dead, that kind of thing. They Live.
Yeah.
So it's like John Carpenter a little bit. So the second one is a lot of probably Kevin Smith. Who else would you think the second movie's all like? The second movie's unique, Amber. What do you think?
Yeah, I
about?
think out of anybody, I think it really leans more towards Kevin Smith, especially with like, the black and white and all the stuff that we kind of do. Kind of reminds me of Clerks.
Well,
Clerks,
Yeah.
horror
and-
movie type of thing.
and so I was thinking of, because when Red State came out, I went down to Austin because he was doing a screening and he did a Q&A,
Oh, cool.
and I watched Red State in the theater, and
Oh.
I went, wow, this is 3 different movies all in one. I mean,
Yeah.
that at first there's this, this whole kids and horror, and then this preacher that's batshit crazy, and then all of a sudden you have a shootout, and then at the end you've got this government conspiracy, and I was like, this has no dick and fart jokes in it whatsoever. How is this a Kevin Smith film? But yes, it is. And so I didn't want that was my thought. I was like, man, this sounds like your own take. This isn't a photo, this isn't a copy, but it is something that it sounds like. I agree with that. It does sound like, if not an idol, it's just something like, hey, he can do something different. Why don't we do something different?
Yeah.
And the reason I don't know if he's an idol to me. I like him. I like Clerks. I like Red State, and I like Mallrats. Everything else, there's varying levels of but I love Clerks and I adore Mallrats. Mallrats to me is so good. It's one of my top 10 or 20 favorite movies.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because I remember the mall. That's something these kids today aren't going to remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, he also did so good with very little money, and that was that was the Inspirato. Is like, everybody knows Clerks was made for next to nothing, and it was you can make a movie that's damn good and holds up today.
Yeah.
And I watched it a year ago just because everybody was telling me all these reviews. Clerks. I said, I need to watch Clerks again.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a good movie.
Yes,
it really is, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, and I thought of when you were talking about it because Dogma is one of my favorites. It certainly has its flaws, but the whole idea of taking religion and kind of turning it on its ear and, about an idea and using that. Gosh, this has been great. What should I've asked you that I haven't? Because I think I've really enjoyed meeting you guys, and now then I'm clicking while we're talking on my computer, watch list on IMDb, to say, hey, I've got to check these out.
Well, I just want to say that WJHC, it's actually just now stopped rendering. I think it's I've been editing it for the last 2.5 months, and it's going to be out in about 6 weeks to 10 weeks on different platforms. And I'm going to tell you, it is so good. It is better than any of us could have made. I actually didn't edit it for 2 months. I put it off because I thought it was going to be god awful. I'm being honest with you.
Sure.
And then when I put it together, I was like, this is good. Everybody's performances are amazing. and it's this cavalcade of crazy characters, magicians, drag queens, furries, comedians. It's unbelievable. And you're talking about dogma. Yeah. This is actually what it was like. This is my autobiographical story of when I came down to Tennessee, tried to get in radio, and I could only get a job at a Southern gospel station. And I was looking at the crazy hijinks that all these people were doing. I was just there to get a job in radio. And then it's like it's a fish out of water trope. And then boom, midnight happens, Y2K, the return of Christ, and then cannibals, demons, zombies, everything running all over the earth. And then you're sitting at a radio station going, what in the hell am I going to do? What am I supposed to do? And just like Dogma, I don't want to spoil anything or get too schmaltzy, but there is a point. Dogma made me weep. When Matt Damon looked at Alanis Morissette, who was playing God, and he just said, I'm sorry. Yeah. Powerful. And we have a similar thing in our movie where it's boobs, boogers, butts, Jesus, craziness, sheep screwing jokes, all this stuff. And there's a point to where, because that's what life is, right? Life is a cavalcade of insanity. Yes. And then at some point, somebody gets the lump that you love, or at some point, somebody finds God, or something happens that it's serious. Yes. Yeah. And that's hopefully what we did with this movie. Is like, we're running along, having a great time, and all of a sudden, boom, it happens. And sometimes you're face to face with somebody higher than yourself, and what happens in that situation. So it's hopefully a little bit of a ride too.
And when is the plan for it to be out?
It should be about 6 to 10 weeks. Amazon, Tubi, the DVDs on Walmart, Best Buy, all that stuff, Dollar General for some reason, but yeah.
That's all right.
They're popping up everywhere though, so it's fine.
Right on.
Yeah, we will, I will make sure that I will promote it once it gets. You guys keep me posted on that. Absolutely. And I will certainly promote it again. And, I'm going to pre-book you right now. After I watch I watched Hike, and then I watched this other one. Then I'm going to have you guys back, and I'll do it. Ask the director, ask the writer, ask the scorer, ask the best boy. Every possible job in the world we can do. That is so great. If someone wants to reach you guys and to get more information, where's the best way to go to get information about your releases and all the other stuff?
Go to biginfunkyproductions.com. That takes you right to our website, and you can go to anything that we've done from there. And you can also email me directly. I'm Amber Schultz I do the public relations, and it's aschultz.bigandfunkyproductions@gmail.com. And I can email you all of those if you want to put those.
That'd be great. Yes, I love that. That's great.
And if you do go to our website too, bigandfunkyproductions.com, it has all our social media jive and our YouTube channel on the bottom and stuff. So
absolutely.
Good. Absolutely. I love this. All right. So I kind of gave you guys beforehand, so it's okay if you need to take a pass, but I end every episode with the Mary question. And for those of you who are fans of Big and Funky Productions, and you're listening to this and going, what the hell is the Mary question, Jesse? Jay Armstrong is an honors English teacher, recently retired in the Philadelphia area. And he would, on his honors English class, they would break apart the Bruce Springsteen song Thunder Road. They would look at all the lyrics. They would talk about the imageries he used, the themes of the song. And then at the end of the 2 days, he would ask the question, does Mary get in the car at the end of Thunder Road? So Amber, Vinny, whichever one first, does Mary get in the car?
You go ahead, Vinny.
I say hell yes, because it's Bruce Springsteen. Of course she gets in the car.
That is a very valid answer. Very nice. Very cool. Amber, any thoughts?
gosh, I'm having to look at the lyrics. I'm such a horrible guest.
That's okay. No, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Oh, you want to be extrapolate
Yes,
like
I would.
Yes.
I would just say that, it's why would he write the song if she didn't get in the car? That's a man's not going to write a song about a woman not getting in the car.
That's a really good answer. And a lot of my guests say that Thunder Road starts the album Born to Run, and that Bruce has often talked about that is an album of kind of a night in Jersey. And so, of course, she gets in the car because that starts the journey. Another line that I love.
That's a great. I didn't know that. He's saying
Yeah.
Born to Run the entire. That's one
Album.
night in Jersey.
Yes.
That's a fucking
That's
cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's neat.
There is the song he wrote, Racing in the Street. There is a line where she sits on her daddy's porch, and the line in Thunder Road is she dances across the porch. And so there have been guests that say, yes, she gets in the car because later when they're unhappy with their marriage, she's sitting on that same porch thinking about all we've lost. Other people say, hell no. She doesn't get in the car because he didn't make enough case. He said, hey, you ain't a beauty, but all right. Well, then F you. You don't think I'm a beauty? Then hell no, I'm not going anywhere with you. My guests are about 60-40. About 60% say yes and about 40% say no. And Bruce Springsteen fans are especially blown away because the majority of them have never thought of that question. They go, what? No, of course she gets in the car. What do you mean? I mean, and then when you start looking at the theory, he doesn't ever say. It's kind of like way back, if you remember, The Lady and the Tiger, the short story that they taught you in junior high or high school, English class, where the end of the story is they don't give you the ending. He picks a door and you don't know what's behind each door. So it's kind of the thought.
It's like the Sopranos ending.
Yes, it is. That's my version of it. So yeah. Guys, this was a blast. I so appreciate you taking time to join me. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
That's great.
I'm so sorry for my internet connection being so crappy tonight.
That's okay. We had a great time. Vinny, Amber, you guys go to Big and Funky Productions. I will have the link in the show notes. Check it out. Let me know what you think of the movies. I'm going to let you know. And after WJHC AM comes out, I'm going to have you guys back and we're going to do a deep dive on it. So, all right.
You're going to love it.
I know it.
The hike is the hike. If you get the hike,
yeah,
you're going to love WJHC AM because the hike is not for everybody. It's got a different flavor of movie, but if you dig it, you're gonna love WJHC, man.
Well, I am certainly going to do it, and I love it. And I have a friend who is absolutely in love with B movies. He that is his passion. Just the cheesier, the bloodier, the gorier, just he adores. And so I'm going to make sure he's seen your link for this. Because he loves horror, all things horror. So I will let him know. Vinny, Amber, please take care. Listeners, go get vaccinated, go get boosted, let's be good to each other because that's the only way we're going to get through this. Thank you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
This podcast would not be possible without my wonderful group of patrons. I want to send a special thanks to John Munson, Mary Thomas, Terry Smith, Dale Hosick, Andrew Goddard, Stephen Malio, Alex Samada, Anna Lynn, Chris Bloom, Holly Mack, and Captain America, aka Steve Rogers. Thank you guys for supporting the podcast. Your support means the world to me, and you are forever in my heart.
You just heard the fun talking, hard rocking, music loving, album ranking, fan thinking, joy spreading, lyric reading, story sharing podcast that is the one, the only Set Listing Bruce. The theme for Set Listing Bruce was written by David Rosen Used by permission.
Bruce Springsteen Live provides fans with an intimate look into Springsteen's creative process. The Bruce Springsteen Live exhibit opens at the Woody Guthrie Center on Saturday, April 16th, running through Sunday, September 25th. The exhibit will feature iconic artifacts, live performance footage, instruments, stage costumes, exclusive interviews, concert posters, and photography, as well as unique interactive displays to immerse fans in Bruce Springsteen and the band's creative process. More information can be found at woodyguthrieCenter.org. Please let them know that Set Listing Bruce sent you there, and I'll see you in Tulsa.